Hi guys, JT here, and today I'll be bringing you some information on the Fanatical Bundle Build Your Own Slayer Bundle 8 of November 2022. To help you answer the question, should you buy it? I'll run you through 7 games for your consideration in no particular order. If you want to know more about game bundles, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps the channel out. So let's get into this. And number 1 we have Out of Line, a unique adventure game filled with beautiful puzzles and a hand-drawn world. You play as San, a small robot, having a bit of fun chasing some colorful cubes around, exploring his world, when suddenly, strange machine arms begin attacking you. When you awake, you're in a dark, industrial area. Now you have to find a way to escape your captors. However, many puzzles and dangers impede your path to freedom. This game does not have any dialogue, but the game tells its story through its artistic atmosphere and visuals. With you is your yellow cube that you were chasing before, now turned into a lance. This lance can't be used as a weapon though, but more as a utility item, forming platforms to jump on, to power up switches along your journey, and to solve puzzles throughout your adventure. You can also use black spears for specific puzzles, but they are more fragile than your lance and will shatter after a certain amount of time. Along the way, you'll meet other characters with different abilities who will help you achieve your goal of freedom. Sometimes it is necessary to synchronize your actions with those characters around you to progress through the game. The puzzles in this game are simple, and there are some helpful clues scattered around to help you, and with some simple logic, they should be quite easy. Along the way, you'll encounter the evil machine arms, your captors, and every encounter with them will feel dreadful, accompanied by some really good sound design of screeching metal. The biggest attraction of this game is the visuals. The game is absolutely beautiful with its 2D hand-drawn art style, with different foregrounds and backgrounds creating a parallax effect. This game isn't long and will take you an afternoon to finish. If you like a simple, relaxing adventure with some simple puzzles and a beautiful art style, then Out of Line could be for you. And number 2 we have Skeletal Avenger, a hack-and-slash roguelike with a massive perk arsenal and head-chucking special moves. You play as a skeleton raised from the dead by a mysterious wizard. Your main goal is to gain power so you can hunt down the one responsible for your death and avenge yourself, hence the name Skeletal Avenger. After you are raised from the dead, the wizard sends you out into the world to collect bloodstones. With these stones, the wizard can scout out your targets and ultimately reveal the one who was responsible for your death. You can wield a multitude of weapons to aid you in your quest, ranging from a sword, daggers, a hammer, and a few other weapons. Each weapon has its own strengths, weaknesses, and attack speed, and each weapon is unique, well-balanced, and all incredibly fun to use on your poor enemies. Because you're a skeleton, you can also pop your head off from your neck and hurl them at enemies, damaging them, but the catch is that you can't throw it again till you obviously retrieve it, either physically or slowly with magic. You could also collect and equip a variety of armor, ranging from helmets, body armor, boots, and trinkets. Different armor types have different effects. Trinkets are slightly different. There are only 8 in this game, but they stay with you and can be freely swapped between runs. These trinkets are very powerful and they provide offensive and defensive bonuses like increasing your health pickups by 50% or bringing you back to life once per turn if you get murdered. Again. The combat of Skeletal Avenger is awesome. It is fast, flexible, responsive, and fairly challenging. Enemy design is also great and varied, and they ramp up in difficulty the further you get into the game. There are also mini-bosses and 4 major bosses, but they aren't too much of a challenge compared to the mob. You can also team up locally with 3 of your friends to take on the dungeons together. To progress in this game, you have to collect bloodstones and fight across 4 different regions. You can obtain bloodstones by completing quests, rewarding you based on difficulty and length. Almost everything you collect will be kept for you, and you can swap them out when you die. Gold can be spent to permanently upgrade your damage, health, and other utilities. Bloodstones are required to face each boss in each region, but if you die, you'll lose half of them, and you have to recollect them till you reach a certain threshold, allowing you to face the boss of that region. You can collect perks in the dungeon, but they don't carry over to your next run, so they'll need to be collected again. These perks range from increasing dash recharge speed, or leaving a pool of dangerous goo every time you dash. There's enough flexibility for you to carve out different playstyles. Skeletal Avenger is an incredible roguelite experience with a very fun combat, and I would recommend that you give it a whirl. And number 3 we have Rising Hell, a vertical platformer roguelike game that feels like a classic game in all the best ways. Gorgeous retro-inspired pixelated graphics and well-rendered sprite characters and monsters. What makes this game different is instead of moving from left to right, jumping from one platform to another, you'll be jumping and moving upwards instead, a relentless climb up and out of Satan's Tower. All the while, heavy metal action-filled music plays as you murder demons one vertical level at a time. Platforming feels fluid with the action to double jump through areas. In fact, there are multiple moves that you can use to maneuver through this tower of hell. You could cling to walls to extend jumps, use on enemies to catapult you into your next jump, or even phase dash, which shifts your character left or right, temporarily adding an invisibility frame to avoid enemy attacks. You'll not only face demons of hell, but also various traps, buzzsaws, and falling spiked mashers to stop your escape. As you defeat enemies, they drop red or green orbs. Green orbs are used to refill your health, while red orbs are your currency to purchase various power-ups, like increasing your health, attack, defense, or even providing you the chance to resurrect if you do perish in a run. The stages are procedurally generated, so no one area is the same. At some point, you'll be presented with diverging paths, each of their own set of challenges, like navigating a climbing fire or a chainsaw platform that will chase you throughout the stage. You'll typically be killing low-level demons at the beginning of the level, before taking on the Archdemon. These enemies have strong melee abilities, bouncing projectiles, or have super speed. Between stages, you can visit a sort of friendly NPC named Mephisto, whom you can obtain additional power-ups at the cost of your defense or health from. The climax of the level is the boss, a high-powered demon with multiple attacks such as bullet hell-style projectiles, lightning strikes, and laser beams that will eat a huge chunk of your health out. This game is challenging, and to help you are collectibles called Blights. With these rare purple crystals, you can unlock relics that can be used to unlock power-ups and additional characters. These additional characters offer different playstyles and attributes from your beginning character, increasing replayability. Rising Hell gives a unique spin on the roguelite formula, and you'll find plenty of depth to this challenging skill-based experience. And number 4 we have Detective D, The Silk Rose Murders, a point-and-click detective game set in ancient China. You play as Di Renjie, a new and bright detective in ancient China, called to investigate a murder of a political ambassador. However, this soon turns into a hunt for a serial killer in the heart of the Tang Dynasty capital city of Chang'an itself, as more bodies started showing up. The story of Detective D is easily the strongest aspect of the game, with great pacing and constantly revealing new twists and turns as you explore new murder scenes. It'll keep you at the edge of your seat with some shocking moments. As you analyze each murder scene, trying to understand what has happened, you'll find that everything serves as a piece of puzzle that connects all of the murders together. Characters in this game are also very likable and nicely developed. The plot was clearly written by some very talented people. The gameplay of this game is similar to most traditional point-and-click games, where you interact with parts of the environment, collecting important items for later use, and uncovering parts of the backstory by talking to NPCs. You'll have further opportunities to put your intellect to use to analyze murder scenes, gather clues from your surroundings, and to deduce what has happened there. Once you've collected all the necessary pieces of evidence, instead of having Detective D explain the case with rows of text, you're instead treated with a flashback, watching the scene unfold. The puzzles in this game are mostly really good, barring some puzzles that felt a little padded out. This game offers a really good story, great characters and art, with a setting that most point-and-click adventure games will never go to. If you like a good detective murder story, or anything about ancient Chinese culture, then this game is definitely one to play. And number 5 we have Hard West, Complete Edition, a turn-based squad tactical adventure game set in the Wild West. A tragic turn of events set a man down a path of supernatural chaos and revenge, brutally hunting down those who wronged him. This game borrows popular mechanics from XCOM with its own creative spin on the typical formula, creating something unique. You're dropped in a semi-open environment, free to explore interactable lands and encounters that offer several options, each of their own rewards and consequences. These sections break up the combat portion of the game, allowing you to build an economy, purchase weapons and consumables, and make difficult decisions that will actually impact the game. Like at one point during your exploration, depending on some choices that you've made, you could slip into a well and fall to the bottom, causing you to be severely injured. This will ultimately affect your performance and vulnerability in combat later. Don't worry though, as you get healed eventually. Before you start a scenario, you get to choose different difficulty settings and a few optional modes like Combat Injuries and Iron Man, with Iron Man mode kicking you back to the beginning of the scenario if a critical character dies. Before going into combat, you get to prepare your characters for battle by equipping consumables, weapons, and ability cards. Each weapon and consumable come with their own luck, sight, and damage stats, while ability cards can be split between characters. These ability cards are powerful and can sometimes turn the tides of battle entirely. The AI could be quite dumb sometimes, so it is recommended that you play this game on higher difficulties for some challenge. There's also a luck system that depletes when a shot misses you and increases when it hits you. Ability cards cannot be used all the time as they require high luck to activate and has a brief cooldown after use. Like XCOM, you could move around in a grid-based system, take cover, or engage in combat. Battles are violent and unpredictable when ability cards come into play. There are some interesting abilities like being able to swap HP of an enemy or inflicting panic onto enemies by causing a shriek. Several combat instances begin with a setup where enemies are not aware of you until you fire upon them, allowing for some stealth gameplay. However, they aren't as responsive to sound as aliens in XCOM, and you could usually take them out quite easily. This complete edition also comes with the DLC Scars of Freedom, which adds some clever twists to the Hard West formula. The paranormal aspects are toned down in this DLC, focusing more on gothic horror that alters some mechanics, like using body parts instead of poker cards as abilities to aid you in combat. The DLC also expands the lore further, continuing the story through branching environments and situations. Overall, Hard West is pretty good, although imperfect turn-based adventure. If you like games like XCOM and the Wild West, you may just like this game. At number 6 we have 12 is Better Than 6. A top-down shooter with stealth mechanics, once again in a Wild West setting. You play as a slave in 1873, you've escaped, and now you must flee from Mexico to the United States. You're equipped with a revolver and a sombrero stolen from a dead man. This game is basically an indie version of Hotline Miami. It is a one-shot, one-kill affair, and you start the level over again once you die. Where this game shines are the gunplay and stealth. Stealth can be challenging as you try to memorize the routine of each enemy on the map. There will be lots of trial and error. The AI is quite impressive, where enemies will come looking for you if they hear a gunshot or if they find a body. Shooting relies on quick reflexes. You can't just run around guns blazing, as you actually have to cock your gun every time you want to shoot. This intensifies your need for quick reflexes, as enemies could also shoot you, or run at you in groups to slice your head off with a melee weapon. In terms of weapons, you have access to a variety of weapons like a revolver, a sniper rifle, a shotgun, and even a bow and arrow for a more stealthy ranged approach. The art style reminds me of a pen drawing, and the only other color you'll see is the blood red of enemies when you shoot them. Over time, the colorless game does get to you though, so it is recommended to play this in short bursts. It is quite a short game, clocking in about 3 hours, but it is a good game for an intense combat and strategic route planning. At number 7 we have Lovecraft's Untold Stories, a roguelike game with RPG elements. This game features a variety of locations and over 50 different Lovecraft monsters. There are 5 different characters to play as, each of which have their own stories to play through. This game will have you crawl through different rooms in a randomly generated dungeon, killing monsters, finding loot, and most importantly, finding clues that will lead you to facing off one of the old ones, which serve as big bosses in this game. When the game starts, you have access to only one character, the detective, with 4 other characters to unlock as you play the game. They are the professor, the scientist, and even a witch and a ghoul. Each character has their own playstyles, skills, and weapons. Lots of care has clearly been put into each character's design, backstory, and motivations for their quest. Each location will always be the same, but the layout is randomly generated. Each room that you visit will have something interesting in it, like a loot box, interesting enemies, or even clues and key items, making exploration really fun. Looking for these items is important, as your health, ammo, and sanity need to be looked after at all times. In addition, you will die quite quickly in this game, murdered by one of its horrible monsters if you're not careful. You also have to be careful of randomly placed traps, as they can be quite hard to see sometimes, causing you precious health. With each clue that you gather, you'll find more information about one of the old ones. Unlocking this knowledge about them will make encounters with them easier to handle, as it will debuff them, like taking less of your sanity or even dealing less damage to you. This really provides motivation to continue exploring, looking for these clues. This game is not very combat focused and rewards patience and exploration. Clocking in at 30 hours long, if you like roguelike and Lovecraftian lore, you will most likely enjoy this game. And those are my recommendations for games in the Build Your Own Slayer Bundle 8 of November 2022. There are some decent games in this bundle, and for its price it is actually a pretty good buy. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.